Okay, so this is what we are starting to make. This is called a small slab pot. You can see all of the things that we're trying to include. Right now we're going to start with the base, and we're going to start with the pieces that are going to attach to the side. Okay, but we are thinking about this going out and in and then back out. So we're going to figure out, where do you think you want that body part of the pot to be? Where do you want the skinniest part of the pot, that neck, to be, and how skinny do you want this to be? And then where do you want the rim, okay, to flare out? How much do you want it to flare out? Okay, so those are all things that you want to think about. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to do first. You created, or you made some slip yesterday by putting some water on top of some dry clay. And you can see, at least with this one, I have extra water that didn't absorb. So you can just pour this off. Okay, and you can see that the clay is really soft. Okay, this is nothing that you could roll into a coil like this, but these are the same thing. Okay, this and this are the same, and the dry clay, it's just the amount of water that's in it. Okay, that's the only thing that has changed. So something to think about. You can use a paintbrush. Let me see. Just grab one. So you don't have to put your hands in this. You can just dip the paintbrush in there to apply this. You could very well use your hands if you want to, but sometimes this is nice to just keep things a little cleaner. Okay, but it's totally up to you on what you want to do. So I have my slab that I cut out from yesterday. I used that cutting tool to just cut straight down and around. And then I'm going to go ahead and make some small slabs. I'm going to take this piece. This is just like a quarter of a piece up there. It's just a smaller section. You don't want to start with something too big, but we're going to squish this so it is round, okay? And you can see it's still got dents in it, but it's round and it's going to be easier for you to roll. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, roll it in my hands to round that out a little bit more. And then I can go ahead and put it on the table and roll this. The biggest thing in making this round is rolling from your fingertip to the heel of your hand. Okay, you have to make sure that this rotates all the way when it goes back and forth. And that's how people make flat coils, is they roll like this. They just flip it like a pancake, back and forth. Okay, so you want to make sure that you roll forwards and backwards. Okay, I would say you want to roll with just one hand. Okay, sometimes not looking at it, okay, is helpful. You can just feel what the clay feels like. Give yourself enough room. If you have all this stuff like stacked in front of you, it's going to be really hard to work. Okay, so move all of that. But this is probably the right size. This is a pretty thick coil. Oh no, it's close to like the size of my finger if I'm giving you a comparison. It's a bigger piece. And so what we're going to do, we're going to make these small slabs, and they're just little like coin shapes or scale shapes that are about the size of a quarter. Okay, that's the only technique that we're trying to master right now. These are going to be about 1/2 inch long. Okay, and this is the fast way to do things. We're thinking about working in an assembly line and making things go faster for you. Okay, we're not going to do just one thing from start to finish. We're going to do one step and then move to the next step. So I've cut these all. The nice thing about this is I've portioned these out. They're all about the same size. Okay, and I know that they're all about the same size. This is way faster than me guessing every time. Okay, I could guess and like, okay, is this the right amount? And then I roll it into a ball and then, oh, that one's too big. Okay, I'm going to guess again, roll this one into a ball. Oh, this one's too small. Okay, so this is how this makes it faster for you. You roll a coil, you cut it into smaller pieces. Okay, so then every time you roll this, you're going to be able to consistently get the same size over and over and over. Okay, so you can see how that works. Some people even save one of these, so the next day you have something to refer back to. Okay, so I've got all these pieces now. Since they're round, I'm gonna flatten them. I'm gonna put it in the soft part, okay, of my hand, and I'm gonna press it with the heel of my hand, this harder part on the side, okay? And I'm gonna press those together. Sometimes I have to push twice. You can see where it's wet, right? Like where it was. And it makes this piece that is tapered, it gets smaller on the edges. Okay, so if I cut this in half, you would see that it's thick in the middle, thin on the sides. Okay, so things that you want to avoid would be smashing this in your hand and then doing this. Okay, lots of people will do that. Look what this does. This makes it thin all the way through. Okay, so this is going to have a harder time standing up and being strong and having a lot of structure than this piece that's like twice as thick. Okay, so you want to make sure you roll it into a ball, you flatten it in your hand. We're not going to worry about little tiny cracks on these edges. That will go away later. I mean, just with a little bit of water, it'll sponge off. You also want to avoid flattening it on the table. Okay, I see people do that. Okay, it does the same thing. It thins this out too much, and it makes it where when you put these together, you're going to have a wall that's way too thin. Okay, so we want to make 10 to 12 of these. And I'm saying that you're making a circle, but these are not perfect circles, and you do not need to obsess or cut them apart or like cut sections off of them. If they are not quite a circle, then that's okay. Let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, here's 11. We'll see what this gets us. So these are going to go on the side of that pot, and I've got like one row that's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece and I'm going to score. This tool has little zigzags on it, so it can score like way faster. If you go at an angle back and forth, you can get a texture on this. This is like Velcro. Second, why do I feel like this is? Okay, so you're going to go ahead and go around and score all of that. Okay, now with this part, I can't get these to fit on here because they're round. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut off the smallest amount possible just to flatten out that edge. Do you see that? I didn't cut off very much. I didn't cut them in half, right? Just a tiny bit. And move some of those. And sometimes I even like twist them and like, ooh, I don't like that side, so I'm going to cut that side off. Okay, so this makes you kind of stop. You're not making too many of them. If you make too many of them, they could dry out and you'd have to like re-wet them. This stuff can just get put in that recycle bucket. Okay, but I have all of these pieces. This is scored. I'm going to need to score these. Okay, scoring is adding texture to it, and you can think of this a lot like Velcro. Okay, you need texture on both sides for them to adhere to each other. You can get any two pieces of clay that are wet to stick to each other while they're wet. Okay, but the problem with this is this project isn't always going to be wet. So we have both of these scored. This will stick together. Like I can put this piece of clay on it and it's going to stay. It's just once I put this in the kiln and I heat it up, all of that water is going to be gone. Okay, so you're going to have to make sure that you score and slip. This is like Velcro, so all those little pieces are going to squish together and bond. Okay, so I'm going to use my paintbrush. I'm going to dot this on. If I paint this on and smooth this out a lot, I have gotten rid of all my scoring. So I basically undid what I did. So I need to make sure that I keep this scored, okay, and that I just dot this on and I don't erase what I've already done. Okay, so dot this on these. Okay, and so now I can take this and put these on. I'm just going to make this flush on the bottom. I am going to overlap these the smallest amount possible. Okay, like enough that they are on top of each other, but not like this, right? If you do this, you're going to need twice as many pieces. It's going to take you twice as long as your neighbor. So I'm going to do this, and I would have to score and slip. So I'm going to have it overlap the smallest amount possible. You want to press this on. And we'll see where we are when we get to that very end, what we need to do. So you might have to wiggle, kind of have them overlap just a teeny bit more. And wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so that'll work. This one goes underneath. I'm going to score and slip a little bit because this one's going to be on top just a tiny bit more than I'd maybe want. And then I'm going to put this one kind of underneath that one. Okay, so now I have this all the way pressed on, started. And the last thing that I have to do is blend and get rid of this edge on the bottom. You can use your wooden tool and just drag this in. I feel like instead of going up and down, it works better if you go at an angle. You can drag and get rid of it. And then I would make sure that you get your name on this. You need somehow where we've got full identification on this. So you could do first initial, last name, or first name, last initial. Okay, so you want to carve this in so you can actually see this. Okay, you don't want it to be like really small like that. Okay, and then we need to put a 3-4 for our block on there. Sometimes people like to put the year. That's kind of fun. Believe it or not, you might forget when you made this. But you could carve that into the bottom. This is a good thing to do right now because everybody's is going to look so similar. Okay, at this point, it's very easy for someone to tomorrow pick up someone else's bag and start working on someone else's project. Okay, I have had it done. Yeah, it's pretty funny. They don't even realize it. The person that has their project missing is the one who is trying to find theirs, and then we realize things have been switched. Okay, so your name is good safety on there to deter someone else from working on it, especially since they're very identical right now. Okay, questions? Okay, we're going to do that part right now, and then we'll talk about a reinforcing coil and adding extra layers.